Hello there. Welcome to another Design Lab. Today I'm looking at Sapiens, the graphic novels, the third one specifically. And this is a French edition, but it's available now in English too. So you can get it in a multitude of languages. If you don't know, the Sapiens book came out like in 2014, I believe. Yuval Noah Harari, and hyper best-selling book, translated into so many languages, incredible number of languages. And then there was these graphic novels that came along. I don't think he's writing them for the most part. I think he's maybe just giving his ideas to the writer and the comic artist, and they kind of adapt it for him. I don't feel like he's much of a comic writer, but I could be wrong. But my impression is that most of the writing is actually done by this other guy, David, I think Vandermeulen. And then the art, I believe, is Daniel Casanave. So this is the third volume. The first two volumes are similar. I guess the key thing that I want to say about it is that these are not a straight adaptation of the book by any means. There are characters in it, vague storylines, and the principal idea behind the book is to get the ideas across, but it also, has these little stories and characters and adventures. And also, I think, people think sometimes comics, oh, this is a kid's version. There was actually more of a young person oriented book. I think it's called Unstoppable Us. But I would say this is not necessarily a kid's version. There's a lot of adult ideas and concepts in this. And I imagine, like, maybe if you're a teenager, you could enjoy it. But I feel like maybe it's a little more graphic and a little more complex than kids may want. So I don't know. I haven't looked at those Unstoppable Us books, so I don't know if those are really meant for kids either. But anyways, let's take a look through here. I want to mention, first off, that the art is great. I love the art. It reminds me so much of one of my favorite artists, Kevin O'Neill, who did, I believe, Martial Law, and I know him best for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Sorry. Anyways, so there's the format of this episode, or this volume, is that it's like a game show, and it's kind of like a winner takes it all type game show where each competes, and they have like there's kind of three contestants. One of them's like empire, one of them's money, and one of them is like gods or god, the concept of a god. And they're each competing to see which had the biggest effect on history as we know it. So anyways, beautiful colors, art. There's also, in addition to the main storyline, there's a lot of flashbacks through history, and there's these, let's see if I can find it. There's these one parts that I like where they do these like Stone Age people, and it's kind of like the Flintstones, but a little different. And yeah, it's just kind of ramps through history. And I was never bored by it. I found it very interesting. There's a lot of cool dialogue, funny dialogue, and twists and weird parts, and just like it avoids. I think what it really tries to avoid doing is just being the book, because if you want to read just the ideas, the book's easily available. But if you want more of like, all the visuals help to get ideas across, and there's a lot of like little kind of homages or parodies of things like Star Wars. So definitely very different from the book itself. I don't know how these are selling. I assume they're on the third volume, so I assume they're selling well enough that you keep going with it. And from what I can tell, at the end of this book, there's a lead into the fourth volume. So I don't know how many volumes are planned, and I don't know if they're going to keep going into the future. But yeah. Oh, so here's the part I was talking about with the kind of like the Stone Age people, and there's this one couple they're starting to be farmers, and they're trying to convince their cousin or whatever to become farmers, and they're just not into it. They want to stay hunter gatherers. I like the limited color palette too. It's like not a full range of colors, but it's like it makes the colors stand out, the ones that are used. And this is kind of a retro use of the dots Like in old comics, they use the dot format to color. I don't know what the reason behind that, but I thought it was kind of interesting to show, time in the past. Yeah, so some of the pages, this is kind of like a boring page. I feel like this could have been done better. Like if you're describing things, why don't you actually show them? There's nothing worse than just a character standing around for, look at all this text. This is like 2 pages of text just standing there. So things like that I felt like could have been better, but overall I thought it was really good. There's just like little tweaks like that. There's also a few times like this where, I think, on the page when the writer was writing this, it was clear who was talking, but you don't put a balloon way up here in the top corner and then have 2 characters way down here at the bottom. It's like you could probably figure out who's talking, but it's just like, it's a bit sloppy. And I understand why they did it, because they don't want to block the Taj Mahal image, but I feel like maybe you should have broken this up to a few panels. And anytime there's an issue like that, usually it involves breaking it up to several panels. Yeah, so it really jumps around, and then they give the empire and money, and I think his name's Captain Dollar, and the other one, what was the other one? Money, empire, and like God, the concept of a monotheism. Yeah, I think the original book *Sapiens*, I read it in 2014, so it's been a while, but I think it was more just like a direct front to back view of history, starting and showing the development. And Harari's big idea is that, which actually I think he borrowed from another writer, but the idea is that he was making popular is that all our things like government, money, corporations, they're just stories, and there's nothing, they don't exist in the real world. They exist in our minds, and that is kind of what allows us to unite as a species in different ways, but it's also allows us to band against each other in other ways when we have competing stories and competing narratives. I'm not sure if I have anything else to add on this book other than I did enjoy it. And if you're interested in history, I remember there was, like, as a kid, that book, Larry Gonick, I think his name is. He wrote that book, The Cartoon History of the Universe, and I felt like I tried to read it and I wasn't that interested in it. It was like a really thick book, and the art wasn't that good. I feel like this book is what that should have been, and like it keeps you interested. A lot of things happen. There's a lot of great characters, a lot of great art, and a lot of subtle homages and satires of popular culture. So I think it works, but I kind of want to read that book again or give it another try, that Larry Gonick book, but who knows when that'll happen. Any final thoughts I have to add on this? He's also very good at like avoiding what's that called, like a straw man, where you just set up an easy target, because by having these different voices, he's able to kind of say, point, counterpoint, and offer different arguments and avoid just one perspective. I mean, clearly he has one general conception of how things are, but he's also good at presenting counter arguments. And the book concludes with this mysterious fourth figure coming along, because I guess in the game show they tied, and the fourth figure is science, and science is that's going to be, I guess, investigated in the fourth one, the scientific revolution. So I don't know when that'll happen, probably in the next year or two. So yeah, that's the *Sapiens* graphic novel, Volume 3. The first 2 are available the first 3 are available at least in English, Spanish, and French. Actually, I have Volume 2 available in Indonesian. I have not read it in Indonesian. My Indonesian is developing, but it's not very good. So they've made it available like the original *Sapiens* book in a wide variety of languages, and who knows what more are to come. So give them a look.